It was supposed to be the most magical day of my life, the kind of day every girl dreams about. My wedding day in Houston was meant to be a joyous celebration of love and unity, shared with cherished family and friends. The venue was breathtaking, adorned with flowers and bathed in soft music that filled the air with a sense of wonder. Yet, beneath the perfect exterior, an undercurrent of tension began to brew, transforming the dream into a living nightmare. The ceremony itself was flawless, the vows exchanged with heartfelt sincerity. I couldn't help but smile as I glanced around the room, taking in the supportive faces of the guests. Everything seemed perfect. Leo and I had spent months planning every detail, and I thought nothing could dampen the happiness of this day. But as the evening unfolded, cracks in the illusion of perfection began to show. As I stood by the refreshments table, chatting with some guests, Leo's mother, Iris, approached me. She was a woman in her mid-50s, with an air of authority that could silence an entire room. Her sharp eyes pierced through me as she said, "Nina, we need to talk."
Now.
The tone of her voice sent a shiver down my spine, but I followed her to a quieter corner of the venue, hoping it was just a minor issue. As soon as we were out of earshot, her expression hardened. "You've disrespected me and embarrassed this family," she began, her voice low but laced with anger. I was stunned. "Iris, I don't understand what you mean. I've done nothing but try to make this day wonderful for everyone," she scoffed, her lips curling into a sneer. "Don't play innocent with me. You've acted disgracefully, making this wedding all about you and ignoring your responsibilities to this family." Her accusations came out of nowhere, and my confusion must have been evident on my face. Before I could form a reply, Leo appeared, drawn by the tension. His expression was unreadable as he looked from me to Iris. "What's going on here?" Leo asked, his voice calm but firm. "She's been disrespectful and ruined the day for everyone," Iris replied, her voice rising slightly. "I can't believe you married someone like her." Leo's gaze shifted to me, his eyes narrowing. "Is this true, Nina? Have you been causing trouble?" My chest tightened. "No, Leo. I haven't done anything wrong. I've been trying to enjoy our wedding like everyone else." But instead of believing me, his face twisted with anger. "You've humiliated my mother in front of everyone," he snapped. "This is unacceptable." Leo's words hit me like a punch to the gut, but what happened next was even more shocking. His face, contorted with anger, made it clear he wasn't interested in hearing my side of the story. "You've made a fool out of me and my family," he shouted, loud enough for nearby guests to turn their heads. Before I could respond, he raised his hand and slapped me across the face. The sharp sound of the slap echoed through the room, and for a moment, everything felt frozen. My cheek burned from the sting, but the humiliation cut even deeper. I stood there, stunned, as the guests stared in shocked silence. A few exchanged uneasy glances, but no one stepped forward to intervene. Iris stood off to the side, watching with a smirk of satisfaction, as if she had won some kind of battle. Meanwhile, Leo wasn't done. "You're a disgrace," he spat, his voice dripping with venom. "I can't believe I married someone so selfish." Tears welled up in my eyes as the room spun. I felt like I was drowning in humiliation, surrounded by the judgmental stares of everyone who had just witnessed my husband strike me on what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. I wanted to scream, to defend myself, but no words would come. I was paralyzed by the weight of what had just happened. Eventually, the awkward murmurs among the guests began to fill the silence. Some pretended to go back to their conversations, while others looked on with pity or disgust. But I couldn't stay there any longer. Without saying a word, I turned and walked away from the reception, desperate to escape the nightmare that had become my wedding day. I found a secluded spot behind the venue, away from the prying eyes of the guests. The tears that I had been holding back spilled over, streaming down my face as I tried to process what had just happened. This was supposed to be the beginning of a beautiful life with Leo, but instead, it had revealed an ugly truth. My marriage was built on deceit and toxicity. The sharp sting on my cheek was a reminder of the public humiliation I had endured. But worse than the slap was the realization that Leo, The man I thought I knew had chosen to side with his overbearing mother rather than stand by me. Sitting in the dim light, I stared at my reflection in a small decorative mirror nearby. My face was flushed, my eyes red from crying, and my heart heavy with betrayal. As painful as the evening had been, it was also a moment of clarity. This wasn't just a fleeting moment of anger, it was a glimpse into a toxic relationship I couldn't ignore. I can't let this define me, I whispered to myself. I won't be their victim. The humiliation of that night ignited something inside me, a fire I hadn't felt before. I wasn't going to let Leo or Iris control my narrative. I would fight back not just for my dignity, but to expose the truth about their cruelty. That slap was not the end of my story. It was the beginning of my fight for justice. I made a silent vow then and there. I would gather evidence, seek help, and ensure that Leo and Iris faced consequences for their actions. My journey wouldn't be easy, but I was determined to reclaim my life. The morning after the disastrous wedding, I woke up with a deep sense of determination. The pain and humiliation were still fresh, but so was my resolve. I needed to take action, not just to heal but to ensure that Leo and Iris would never again have the chance to manipulate or harm me. The first step was finding someone who could help me gather evidence of their abuse and deceit. After some research, I contacted a highly recommended private investigator named Jack Hayes. Jack, a man in his early 40s with a calm demeanor and an analytical mind, agreed to meet me the same day. In his small, tidy office, I recounted everything that had happened, starting from the wedding day and extending to the months of subtle manipulations and emotional abuse I had endured from both Leo and Iris. Jack listened intently, his expression unreadable but sympathetic. "This is a tough situation," he said after I finished. "But if you're willing to work with me, I believe we can uncover the truth." "I'll do whatever it takes," I said, my voice firm despite the lump in my throat. "I need to expose them." Jack nodded. "Then we'll start by gathering evidence. Keep a recorder with you and document every interaction you have with them. I'll also begin investigating their financial records and any other activities that might indicate wrongdoing." Over the following weeks, I carried a small recording device hidden in my purse. It wasn't easy pretending everything was fine around Leo and Iris, but I knew it was necessary. The recordings captured every cruel word and belittling comment from Leo, each interaction serving as a painful reminder of what I had endured. One evening, during dinner, Leo's frustrations boiled over into another argument. I calmly responded to his criticisms, but he lashed out, his words cutting deep. "You're completely useless, Nina," he said, his tone filled with disdain. "I don't know why I ever married someone like you." I pressed on, trying to stay composed. "I've done nothing but try to make this marriage work, Leo. Why are you always so angry?" His response was venomous. "Because you're a failure. You're a burden on me and my mother. Everyone can see it." Those words, recorded and documented, became some of the most compelling evidence I had. Meanwhile, Jack Hayes uncovered shocking details about Leo and Iris's financial dealings. He discovered large sums of money being transferred between multiple accounts, raising suspicions of fraud. As the weeks went by, I felt both drained and empowered. Jack Hayes continued his meticulous investigation into Leo and Iris's financial activities, and I focused on collecting every bit of evidence I could. But this wasn't something I could do alone. I needed support. That's when I turned to my best friend, Mia. Mia, in her early 30s and as fiercely loyal as she was sharp, had always been my rock. When I told her about the slap and the subsequent discoveries about Leo and Iris, her reaction was a mix of shock and fiery determination. "They've gone too far, Nina," Mia said, pacing my living room. "You can't let them get away with this." "I won't," I assured her. "Jack and I are building a case, but I need your help too. I need someone to keep me grounded through all of this." Mia sat down beside me, her expression softening. "You've got me, Nina. Always. Let's go through everything together." With Mia's help, I began organizing the evidence. We replayed the recordings, highlighting Leo's harsh words and Iris's manipulative tactics. The financial documents Jack had uncovered were damning, showing a clear pattern of embezzlement and fraud. Each piece of evidence painted a more sinister picture of Leo and Iris's true nature. Mia was the one who suggested turning the tables in the most public way possible. "They humiliated you in front of everyone at your wedding," she said, her voice resolute. "Let's expose them in front of the same audience, and more." The idea was bold, even risky, but it struck a chord with me. "A public event," I mused, nodding slowly. "Invite friends, family, even the media. Show everyone exactly who Leo and Iris are." With Jack's approval and Mia's help, we began planning an elaborate event to unveil the truth. The invitations were sent out under the guise of a celebration, a chance for me to thank everyone for their support after the wedding. Behind the scenes, we meticulously prepared every piece of evidence to present. The day of the event arrived, bringing with it a mix of nerves and determination. The venue was a grand hall in downtown Austin, decorated elegantly to disguise the storm that was about to unfold. Family, friends, and even media representatives filled the space, their chatter echoing off the walls as they speculated about the purpose of the gathering. Leo and Iris arrived with confident smiles, likely expecting another opportunity to flaunt their superiority. They mingled with guests as though nothing was amiss, completely unaware of the trap about to spring. I stood off to the side, my heart pounding as I rehearsed my speech in my mind. Mia gave my hand a reassuring squeeze. "You've got this, Nina," she whispered. "Remember, the truth is on your side." When the time came, I stepped up to the podium. The room quieted as I addressed the crowd, my voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "Thank you all for coming today," I began. "This event was planned as a celebration, but it's become something much more significant." I glanced at Leo and Iris, noting the faint hint of unease in their expressions. "Tonight, I'm here to share the truth about my marriage, about the people you see before you, and about the betrayal and abuse I've endured." The tension in the room was palpable as I pressed a button on a remote control. A large screen behind me lit up, displaying the first piece of evidence, an audio recording of one of Leo's outbursts. His venomous words filled the room, leaving no doubt about the emotional abuse I had suffered. The crowd listened in stunned silence as recording after recording played. Each one painted a clearer picture of the manipulation and cruelty I had faced. When the financial documents appeared on the screen, Jack stepped forward to explain the fraudulent activities Leo and Iris had engaged in, detailing the suspicious money transfers and embezzlement. Leo's confident facade crumbled as his face grew pale. Iris's expression twisted into a mix of anger and embarrassment as murmurs spread through the room. "This is ridiculous," Leo finally shouted, his voice trembling. "You're lying. These are fabricated." But the evidence was irrefutable, and the room was no longer on his side. Guests murmured their outrage, some openly confronting Leo and Iris about their actions. The media representatives eagerly captured every moment, ensuring the truth would reach a wider audience. By the end of the night, Leo and Iris were left exposed and humiliated. Their attempts to escape the venue were thwarted by a swarm of questions from guests and reporters. Their once pristine reputations were in tatters, and their confidence had been replaced by desperation. For me, it was a moment of triumph. I had taken control of my narrative and refused to let them define my story. But I knew the fight wasn't over. There was still the legal battle to come. The days following the event were a whirlwind of activity. The evidence I had presented not only tarnished Leo and Iris's reputations, but also sparked immediate legal consequences. The authorities took notice of the financial fraud Jack had uncovered, and an investigation was launched. My lawyer, Sophia Reeves, was a skilled and compassionate professional who worked tirelessly to prepare our case. As the court date approached, I steeled myself for what was bound to be an emotionally exhausting process. The recordings, financial documents, and witness testimonies were all meticulously organized to build a strong case against Leo and Iris. The courtroom was tense as the trial began. I took the stand to testify about the emotional and physical abuse I had endured, recounting the wedding day humiliation and presenting the recordings of Leo's cruel words. Listening to the recordings in the sterile courtroom was even more jarring than at the event. I saw jurors exchange looks of disbelief and sympathy as they heard Leo berate me, calling me useless and a burden. The prosecution then turned to the financial fraud. Jack Hayes' testimony was clear and damning. He detailed how Leo and Iris had embezzled significant sums of money through fraudulent transactions. The evidence was overwhelming, and their defense struggled to counter it. Leo and Iris, once so confident and smug, looked defeated. Their attempts to discredit me fell flat as the evidence painted an undeniable picture of their wrongdoing. After weeks of testimony and deliberation, the trial reached its conclusion. The judge delivered the verdict with a firm tone. Leo was found guilty of financial fraud, sentenced to 5 years in prison, and ordered to pay restitution to his victims. Iris faced substantial fines and a 2-year probation period, effectively ending her social standing and financial power. The judge also acknowledged the emotional abuse I had suffered and granted me a divorce. The legal victory was a moment of relief, though bittersweet. The road to justice had been long and grueling, but it was worth it. With the legal battle behind me, I decided to start anew. I moved to a serene town outside Denver, Colorado, far away from the painful memories of my past. My new home was a cozy retreat, surrounded by rolling hills and the quiet beauty of nature. It felt like a place where I could finally breathe freely. As I sat on my porch, watching the sun dip below the horizon, I reflected on the journey that had brought me here. The pain and betrayal I had endured were profound, but they had also forged me into someone stronger and more resilient. I had reclaimed my life, stood up for justice, and found a new sense of purpose. Nina's story teaches us that courage and resilience are our greatest strengths during life's toughest moments. If you found this story inspiring, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more empowering stories. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. Your support means the world to us.